Okay, what I'm doing here is radiusing a fretboard, all right? I've got an ebony fretboard here that's going to go on this maple neck. So I've got the neck all cut and shaped, okay, tapered. Got the truss rod installed. And right now I'm doing the fretboard, and that's going to get glued on here, okay? Fretboard is secured down to the workbench with just masking tape. So I put one strip of tape down on the table, one strip of tape on the back of the fretboard, and then I put some crazy glue on the tape on the table there, and just stick them together, and that sticks really solid. I've got a radius block here, so this is a 10-inch radius, and that's what I use for Telecasters. And I've got double-sided tape on the radius block and 80 grit sandpaper, right? And then, I'm just sanding the top of the fretboard like this, and that makes the radius. So sand it down until, you get the center sanded. The fretboard is cut to a 1/4 inch thickness and 2.5 inches wide. It's fine. The widest part of the fretboard is 2.25. So I cut it 2.5, and that so the fretboard comes out over the sides just a little bit, and then when I trim it, it's the same as the neck. It trims in flush with the neck. So that's it. I just keep going here with 80 grit until I get most of the heavy cutting done, and then I peel this off and put on finer grit papers to get the surface of the fretboard nice and smooth, up to at least 220 grit, okay? And maybe even higher than that, So we're getting there. It's almost done, actually. That's how it goes. All right, and after sanding 80 grit, 120 grit, and 220 grit, this is what I've got. Got a nice smooth fretboard here, okay? So next job for this is to get it glued onto the neck, okay? And then I'll just leave that overnight, let it set up, okay? So I have to find the center line of the fretboard, center line of the neck on both ends. Put a pin in here, a pin in there. Mark the fretboard, put a little hole here, a little hole there, and set it down on the pin so it doesn't rotate when it's being glued, it's being clamped. Because if you don't pin it, it could, go out of position, right? So if you've got it pinned in place, you can be pretty confident that it's not going to move. All right. Take a 1/16 drill with a brad tip, a little point there. Put a tiny hole up here. You don't need very deep, like that. And then another one just back here. Okay, so I've got I took a little brad nail and cut it off, so it's just like a 1/16 of an inch above the neck, above the surface of the neck on both ends. I've got the center point of the fretboard marked, and I know where the end of the fretboard needs to come, so I'll just put the end of the fretboard there, line up the center. Okay, on the front, line up the center on the back. Press down. And now I've got marks now on either end of the fretboard where I need to drill a couple of small holes. So I put on a slightly bigger bit, a 3/32, because I'm going to replace the nails with this dowel. It's a 3/32 dowel. And the reason I don't use the nails is because if you ever have to take the fretboard off, you use a trowel, you heat it up, use a trowel, and you don't want to be trying to push through nails. Just make these holes here a little bit bigger. And here. Of course, when you're drilling the holes here in the back of the fretboard, you have to be very careful. You have to be mindful not to go through all the way, because you can do that. Now, it's not the end of the world. You can fill it, but you might see it, you know. Okay. So put one in there. Cut that off fairly close. And put one back here. Cut that off fairly close. And when the fretboard goes on, it should click in. Clicked in there, and clicks in there. Beautiful, okay? So now when I glue it, it's not gonna move, right? That's solid, okay? All right, so it's time now to apply some glue here. I've put tape over the truss rod so I don't get glue down in the truss rod channel. I use this Tight Bond 3 stuff for necks. It's really good glue. Got a plug there. There we go. All right. Let's get some of this stuff here. Just rub it in with your finger. Probably got too much glue on there, so I'll just clean it up here in a sec. Spread it out evenly. All right. And we'll just take the tape off. Like that. And so I don't get rattles, I'm going to put some silicone, just a little dab of silicone here on the truss rod. So up here on the front, here in the center, and here on the end, and another one there maybe. Yeah, why not? So it just, you know, keeps the truss rod from making noise, which can happen if it's loose. Truss rod should be under tension ideally, but in cases where it's not, it can rattle and be quite annoying. Okay. There we go. And the fretboard is on, so now I just have to glue it, and it's solid. There you go. So I'll clamp it up now and come back. There it is, all clamped up. I have like a 2 or 3 inch lip on my bench here for clamping, which is pretty handy. There we go. That only needs, you know, half an hour or so, but I'll leave it overnight. Make sure that it's set up really good. Once it's glued, then I'll just, on the bandsaw there, I'll just trim off the edge of the fretboard as close as I can to the neck, and then I'll go take it over to the router table and use a flush trim router bit, which that's a bit that's got a bearing on it, and the bearing rides on the neck, and the blade cuts the fretboard rather, flush with the neck, so you get a real nice job there, right? And once that's done, I shape the headstock on the spindle sander. I'll just, you know, put on a nice big disc and spindle sand the, you know, the shape in here, so that it's nice and uniform, symmetrical. Flatten the headstock, get that sanded down real nice, and then carve the neck. There you go.